With Islamic State being eliminated as a military power in Syria, increasing numbers of ISIL fighters' wives and children are returning to Europe. And Germany's domestic intelligence chief believes they pose as much of a threat as the militants themselves.
There are children who have been brainwashed and highly radicalized at schools in ISIL-held areas. It's a problem for us because many of these kids and teenagers can sometimes be dangerous. Women returning to Germany from Islamic State have become so radicalized and identify so deeply with ISIL ideology that by all accounts they must also be identified as jihadists. We have to keep them in our sights.
I was joined by two guests earlier to ask how they thought the returnees should be handled.
I wouldn't say that necessarily people have been all brainwashed. Some of the wives of ISIS fighters probably have been more ideologically committed to the caliphate than even some of the men. There are certainly those who have been duped or who are simply following husbands or lovers who may not be very much committed and kind of were foolish enough.
ISIS and various other terrorist groups have declared war on us. ISIS have made it absolutely clear they are planting sleepers around the whole of Europe, who in due course will be called upon to rise up and blow up our innocent citizens. We need to take this seriously. There are quite strong reports coming out of ISIS that they've been training child soldiers. Children can come back alone without their parents, if their parents are culpable and have identified with ISIS, then come back up to the age of, say, 16, something like that, if that seems in the best interest of the child. But the parents who have chosen to go and join our enemy, who is trying to destroy our civilization, should not be allowed back into this country. They should be put on a no-fly list and not allowed back in.
What I would like to see is criminal justice rendered fairly and according to the proper standards. We've seen that there are a lot of examples of people who are not very committed. They've gone there for a variety of reasons, and they're quite disengaged and disillusioned.
I don't think that matters. They've taken an adult choice. If they're over 18, whatever their motivations are, whether it's ideological or whatever, they've chosen that decision in full knowledge of the facts and the information. They've taken their choice. They then need to live with the consequences.
That does directly play very much into the hands of the whole Salafi jihadist ideology. And it's a very racist and sexist one. It's a very aggressive type of ideology that has to be condemned. But wouldn't it be better, and this is what was done after the Second World War, is to say, listen, we have to delegitimize the Nazism, not just by continuing the war forever. You know, draconian approaches, if you resort to that kind of thing, you've basically legitimized the same thing from ISIS.
After the war, of course, it becomes more complicated and so on, but we are in a 1943-44 situation. Once we have defeated the ISIS ideology, then of course we can look at the issues, we can look at the individuals and so on. But at the moment, we are at war.